Broadcasting live from the Potawatomi Sportsbook Studios in Milwaukee. Alongside Ben Brust and Jen Latta, here's Greg Matzik.
Wager on 94.5 ESPN. Greg Matzik, Ben Brust, Josh DiMaggio in for Jen Latta today. We are getting up and running from Potawatomi Sportsbook, and we have flipped the calendar. Very excited that we have flipped the calendar to March. February is the month of anticipation. We have talked about this on the program for the last several weeks. Spent a lot of time doing futures bets. When is it too late to do a futures bet in the NBA? When is it too early to do a futures bet in the NFL or Major League Baseball? Well, now, spring training has started. We are getting closer to the NFL free agent period. Odds are going to start to shift a little bit once you get through the first wave of free agency and once you get through the NFL draft. So we expect some movement with the numbers a little. And also, we start to dial in the NBA as we get closer to seeding time in the postseason. We know the Bucks are going to be a postseason team. Where they fall in the seeding, anybody's guess right now. They are likely to avoid the whole play-in scenario, which is a great thing. They've won 7 of 8. And the Bucks are on the home floor tonight, taking on a shell of a Dallas Mavericks team, all beat up and bruised in more ways than one. They're in Milwaukee, the Bucks playing on night 2 of a back-to-back. 800-990-3776. If you care to join us here on the Car Blues Talk and Text line, what do you dive into around this time of year? This sort of this creamy middle where we're trying to figure out what do we want to dive into, right? The madness of college basketball, of course, is heating up daily, nightly. You've got games in the NBA, games in college basketball, Josh, and there's a full slate of games on here tonight. A lot of action in the Big Ten. Both Marquette and Wisconsin played this evening, and we expect interesting contests there. You start getting closer to seeding, these games mean quite a bit down the stretch. So any team that's, whether they're on the bubble or trying to play for a bye in their conference tournament or fight for a seed line better than what they're currently being projected, there's some meaningful games here as we flip the calendar.
Yeah, there are a lot of games throughout the next couple of weeks that are going to be worth watching, especially if you're looking to make some of the future bets, some of these bets here for Final Fours or to even win a championship, because you are going to be able to see some of the best teams playing. You are going to see them functioning at their highest. Everyone's going to be going, everyone's going to be out there, and everyone's going to be participating at a high level to either lock in their seed for a conference tournament, for the tournament that comes up in March, or just trying to find their way in there to be one of those last 4 in that we see them talk about, or the teams left off. Everyone's jockeying for position, and they're going to be doing it for the next couple of weeks. So this is the best time to be watching college hoops. You're going to get the highest level of competition, and these games are finally starting to feel like they matter.
Yeah, we still start typically with our local lookout on the program. It is kind of a grab bag time of the season, though, Ben, where we sort of look at everything. And we'll dial into the Bucks a little bit throughout the program. A little bit of Brewers movement, too, with their over-under win total, which I think is interesting because they haven't really done anything aside of signing a pitcher in Jose Quintana. You've got games that are meaningful for a conference race. Like tonight, for example, you got Alabama, number 7 team in the land, taking on Florida, number 5 team in the country. Both entertaining teams, part of a pretty powerful SEC that's going to have several teams in the tournament, we expect anyway. Do you look at these games with a lot of stock and a lot of interest, right? I mean, it's an interconference battle. Great, right? You get a victory. It looks great. Maybe it helps your positioning in the conference tournament, but you've been in these games before. Is there sort of an automatic switch where everything just sort of dials up in March, where you really, truly get the best of every team?
Well, I can only speak from the standpoint of, and I don't know if anyone can hear me in the world. How about now? Can anyone hear me?
I could hear you before. You sounded great.
Oh, you could? If you can hear me, I'll just keep talking into this one. What I can say is, especially for this Alabama-Florida game that you mentioned, I can take it back to when the Big Ten was deeper than it was, and not just because it has more teams in it, right? It was a 14-team league, but there was a time you were getting 8 to 9 teams in. When I look at the SEC and you're thinking about getting 10 teams in, and you have Florida at number 5 and Alabama at number 7, Florida on the 1 seed currently, seeding matters. Seeding absolutely matters. You want to be a 1 seed. You want to be a 1 seed no matter what. So at this point in the season, you want to get every
quality win as you can, because it will pay dividends later in the tournament when you have a better chance to be closer to home, right? You could be closer to home because you're a higher seed in the first 2 rounds. And if you're a 1 seed as well, you want to be in the regional, if possible, that is close to you as well, because you want every advantage possible to make a deep run.
We approach conference tournament season here, too, in the early portion of the month of March. Some great games here on the schedule, as I mentioned. You'll hear Marquette right here on 94.5 ESPN coming up tonight as we sign off. We'll get you to Marquette basketball. Badgers in Minnesota, of course, taking on the Golden Gophers as the Big East Conference tournaments and Big Ten tournaments just several days away from beginning. Horizon League tournament, if you're looking for state teams to follow, is up and running. I'm very curious to see what happens. In fact, my best bet, it's already started, so I feel like I can't go to it right now. I was liking the under on this Alabama-Florida game at 179.5. You get the feeling that with a team that can score like Alabama and can score like Florida, something sort of has to give. There's going to be enough defense, enough pace where you'll see high turnovers. 3 minutes in, it's 5-4 right now. I'm not sure if you can glean much from that, but my initial instinct was to be under, which brings me to another point, Ben. Does real defense start to get played like we talk about it in the NBA? When you get to the postseason, real defense is played. A 94-86 game might be the most entertaining game of the night. Do you notice a difference in college basketball when you get this time of year, and the under becomes a little more intriguing?
Look, to me, I think it's just it's apples to oranges there. I don't think you can compare the NBA to college basketball, because there's defensive efficiency ratings, and you know what teams actually are good at defense because it's tracked throughout the entire season, and you can see the consistency of a Tennessee who has been in the top 5 of Ken Palm's defensive efficiency all year. So when I look at Tennessee as their number 1 in Ken Palm defensive efficiency, I know what to expect from a Tennessee. There's so many teams that you're going to be able to figure out what they're good and what they're bad at over the, because it's not the NBA, right? You have 82 games, or like games that, they sit guys on back-to-backs, there's veterans, there's this, there's that. You play every game with a purpose in college basketball, even if you might have a chance to make it into the tournament on a weird sort of wacky way, right? Like NC State, the way they made it to the tournament in the ACC tournament, winning that outright and then going to a Final Four. Like, it's just like every game is so important that the sample size you get from the regular season and the conference tournaments, you already know what these teams are, and you're not going to be able to change the way you play. So if you think you need to start playing defense, it's too late because it's already in your identity, and these aren't professionals, they're college basketball players.
Is there value in getting out ahead of the brackets? Here's what I'm getting at. You got a list of teams right now, NCAA tournament quality teams, and Auburn and Duke are at the head of the class. And no surprise here. They'll both be number 1 seeds. They will be on opposite sides of the bracket, so they won't face each other most likely in a semifinal game, but likely in a finals game. Auburn and Duke right now are both plus 340 to cut the nets down, and then a pretty decent jump to Houston, third on the list with plus 750, Florida plus 950. There's some value picks which we can get into, but is there value in trying to get ahead of the brackets before you see what the path to the Final Four is, and riding the team more so than their path to get to a championship?
At this point, it's too late. If you identified a team halfway through the season or in January, you want to take the shot then, because now all the teams that actually have like that chance of winning the national championship, they're there, right? And so for me, I think at this point you wait for the bracket, and then if you really have dug in and you've done your research and you believe in a certain team, then I think it's way better of an opportunity for you to place a future, because you know the matchups, the potential matchups, where you're scared of an upset. You can just dissect more and maybe find some value on which you think Vegas or Potawatomi Sportsbook didn't account for.
I'm wondering if Auburn and Duke are matchup proof. Like if it doesn't matter. And look, we've seen a number 1 seed fall. We have seen giants in college basketball stumble in the early goings of the NCAA tournament, and that always becomes a headline. Those Cinderellas tend to fade. But Auburn and Duke are head and shoulders above everybody else right now, and that's what the odds would suggest at plus 340. The trick is trying to pick which one of those two you think has a better shot at winning a title. But
to me, it's easy, though. I said this. I'm a fade Duke title run guy because of the ACC. Auburn has that record in the toughest conference in all of college basketball. They've gone to Tennessee And they've gone to Alabama. They've gone to Florida. They've gone to A&M. They've gone to Ole Miss, Mississippi State. Those are all tournament teams and quality teams that I have mentioned that they have faced, and they have the record that they do. Duke has the record that they do, beating the crap out of Wake Forest, Miami. Insert ACC team here outside of Clemson. They have demolished them. So they haven't been challenged. So my worry for Duke is not that they don't have the skill, but also if you want to look back to the earlier games of Duke's season, there was a common trend I think you might have brought up as well. It was Cooper Flagg. In the end of games, Cooper Flagg struggled to make plays late. Has Cooper Flagg been able to work on making plays late in this regular season? Absolutely not, because they're blowing the brains off of everybody that they play in the ACC. So my worry for them is they are going to be learning how to play in tight games, in tight environments, while Auburn has done that the entire season.
I do like Auburn better. If you're going to tell me, Greg, you got to pick one, Auburn or Duke, I would lean more Auburn because of a couple of things, and some of what you just mentioned. Powerful conference. Head coach Bruce Pearl is certainly not afraid of the moment. You also have players who are a little more experienced. Duke maybe has the most talented team in the country. I don't think that's a stretch to say it.
No, not at all.
But I would also argue that they're among the most experienced, or least experienced title contenders. And there's something to be said about
Bruce Pearl went to the Final Four with Auburn back in, I was there whenever it was in Minneapolis. I want to say 2019, whichever year Virginia won the title, because there was a foul in the corner. And again, Bruce Pearl's been there. He's had guard play. He's had successful teams, and he's been a favorite to go to the Final Four. Last year, they were a team that everyone thought would go to the Final Four. This year, they're like, you have to be laying money for them to make the Final Four. On the sheet, I don't have it in front of me because I switched seats. I think they're like minus 155 to make the Final Four. That's crazy. That is crazy. In a one-and-done tournament, they're basically saying there is no doubt, or there is more of a likelihood that they make the Final Four than they don't, because you are having to lay money on that.
What would be interesting is if they ran into an SEC team, right? A team from their own conference that could potentially upset them like we saw the other night. Now, granted, NCAA tournament games are played on neutral floors and, not in hostile environments, but nonetheless, Auburn suffered a setback. I don't think it's going to affect their seeding or standing or anything like that. I think they'll still be the number one overall seed. If not, it's going to be Duke, and Auburn will be the number 2 overall number 1 seed. Value in the brackets, in the tournament. Do you lean on tradition and expertise and coaches who have been there before? It is very hard for me to look away from Michigan State with plus 2,700 on the line right now as a team that could win it all. Would anybody get shocked if Michigan State won it all?
Believe it or not, the years that, they're in the top 10 right now, the AP poll, but the years that Michigan State is always the one that everyone's looking at is the years that they blow it. I think of number 2, Michigan State against Middle Tennessee State, upset 15-2. It's always the years where they kind of get by, they're a 4 or 5 seed, and then another, bam. I'm never trusting as those teams when they're expected, because they haven't done, they went through a stretch of just making it every 4 years, and he's kind of dwindled away from that reputation. So I stay away from Michigan State because I also don't believe that they shoot the ball well enough as a team. They have Jace Richardson, who is a stud as a freshman, but I'm not going to rely on a freshman as a only shot maker on the team. They have depth and size, and they have athleticism, but I don't love them.
Let me
in regards to making it to the championship.
Okay, well, this is to cut the nets down. So there's some meat to this. Let me give you 3 teams. You pick the one you like the best.
Okay.
This is to win a title. Okay, to win a title. Iowa State at plus 2,000, Michigan State at plus 2,700, Texas A&M at plus 4,000. Do you like anything out of that?
Iowa State for sure. Otzelberger's team can defend the crap out of you on offense, and A&M can't shoot. They if you look up their numbers from 3 in the free throw line, that is a team I wouldn't touch. I love Buzz and I actually love what he's been able to do at A&M. Wade Taylor is their only scoring threat from the outside. He's been there a million years. He's an absolute stud, but he's not carrying Texas A&M to a championship. Iowa State at one point was a top 5 team in the country, almost in the title favorites of the likes of Duke and Auburn that we discussed. And so they're in a little bit of a rough patch right now. They almost came back and won in double overtime yesterday in a game they should never have been down 20. But the fact that you're down 20 at this point in the season isn't great for the trend, but it's capable inside of them to make a run.
And you got a Pewaukee kid who is helping lead the charge there, too, at Iowa State. Coming up on the other side, we'll stick to basketball here. I want us to pivot to the NBA. The Bucks are riding a heater right now. What is it doing for some of their numbers? And there's one specific number that has really gone off the map here. We'll explain after this. It's the Weekly Wager. Josh DiMaggio returns from signing autographs right after this.
More bets coming up. This is the Weekly Wager on 94.5 ESPN. With Wilde and Tausch, you won't miss a play.
Romeo. This 3-syllable, you have to take the O out of the equation. That's too easy.
Presented by Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin.
Iota, right? Not one iota. Iota.
Yeah, that's only 4 letters.
Weekdays from 9 to noon.
Let's pretend you're a first-time listener to Wilde and Tausch. What the hell is this? They're discussing syllables.
On 94.5 ESPN, the Wisconsin On Demand app, and at ESPN Milwaukee on YouTube.
At Grunberg Law Offices, we take great pride in helping those who have trusted us after a serious accident. Our team has the knowledge, resources, and experience to get you the results you deserve. Don't wait to get the help you need. Make the right call. Call Grunberg Law Offices today. Proud partner of your Milwaukee Bucks. One call, that's all.
Great Midwest Bank has document imaging technology from James Imaging Systems, a 100% locally owned and managed business technology company. The bank's IT systems administrator, Michael Quizon, comments on the value of local.
We call on them at any point, they're there. We ask them any questions that we have, they're there.
James Imaging Systems, local business technology solutions, local support, local accountability. Luther Gray, Director of Ticket Operations and Group Sales for the Milwaukee Symphony Orchestra.
If an issue does arise, they're very prompt, polite, and professional. It makes me feel empowered because I find it very easy to resolve something.
James Imaging Systems client, Al Leidinger, President of Matheson Manufacturing, summarized the benefit of local.
James Imaging has been a really good partner with us from the beginning.
Go with local. Go with James Imaging Systems, your local business technology partner. Call 262-781-7700 or visit jamesimaging.com.
Hey, it's ESPN Milwaukee's Kyle Walsh for Universal Windows Direct. Tax season is here, and what better way to reinvest in your home than with brand new energy-efficient windows? During Universal Windows Direct tax time sale, you can save big now. Right now, buy 2 windows, get 2 free, and there's no limit. Need 4? You only pay for 2. And here's something that will make your wallet even happier. Pay no interest until 2030. Schedule your free in-home estimate or visit universalwindowsdirect.com, and like me, you'll be saying, I love my windows.
Are you ready to shake things up at Potawatomi Casino Hotel, Milwaukee? All you gotta do is toss your rewards card into your favorite slots for drawing entries and a chance to be in the Roll for Riches game show. What's on the table? Oh, just $300K in cash and prizes. Play this March, and Thursday nights, you could get on a winning streak that, frankly, you deserve. Let it ride and Roll for Riches. Only at Potawatomi. More info online. Must be 21 and a rewards member to play.
Hi, this is John Neal, CPA, founder of Right Choice Tax Resolution and best-selling author on how to have less stress with the IRS. We have talked with a number of new clients who told us the same story. They had a tax situation and went with one of those national firms with the TV and radio ads. They guarantee they can settle your tax owed for pennies on the dollar. They take a $10,000 fee up front, and then you never hear from them again. We are a local firm and just want to help you resolve your situation so you can get on with your life. Don't let your bank account get wiped out, your paycheck or Social Security check get garnished, or a lien put on your house so you can't sell it or get refinanced. The state can even put a hold on your occupational license. Make the right choice and call 844-222-1192 or visit rightchoicetax.us today. Schedule a free meeting so we can talk and come up with a plan to solve your situation right now. It will not go away if you bury your head in the sand. Call now, 844-222-1192, or visit rightchoicetax.us.
Hey, Hey, it's ESPN Wisconsin's Brad Nortman, and you may be wondering if you are a good candidate for QC Kinetics. If you're having pain in your knees, your hips, your shoulders, or your back, maybe you're having trouble sleeping or doing the things that you love doing, then yes, you could be a great candidate for QC Kinetics and the regenerative medicine. I know when I went to QC Kinetics and saw everything they have with my own two eyes, I was blown away at the tools in their toolkit to make sure that you get your life back. PRP, platelets, plasma, and they have so much they can do to give you your life back. From all the testimonials I've heard and from what I've seen with my own two eyes, it is unbelievable to see the before and after impact of QC Kinetics and their regenerative medicine. So don't wait any longer. Finally, get your life back as spring is unfolding. Get your free consultation today with QC Kinetics at 414-285-3474. That's 414-285-3474. 414-285-3474.
This is the Weekly Wager live from Potawatomi Sportsbook on 94.5 ESPN and at ESPN Milwaukee on YouTube.
Potawatomi Sportsbook is your place for all of the wildness in the month of March, and it started already, right? You've got conference games going on, hurtling into conference tournament time. Marquette, Wisconsin on tonight. That 2,000 square foot video wall is popping. The games will be on, in Bucks basketball tonight, taking on the Mavericks. Greg Matzik, Ben Brust, and Josh DiMaggio with you. We got you till 7 o'clock. Then we have network coverage of Marquette taking on UConn in Storrs, Connecticut. I want to shift attention here to the Milwaukee Bucks. It is no longer on the board here, over-under totals for NBA teams. Getting closer to the end of the regular season, things start to move a little bit. I did not see any updated totals here as we were looking last week at the Bucks over-under total being projected at 48.5. Well, they've gone on a bit of a heater here. They've won 7 of their last 8 games. They are now in 4th place, tied for 4th in the Eastern Conference. So, potentially home court advantage when you get to postseason time.
Well, I know you brought this up, Greg, so I got to go there. You and I know you were leaning more a certain way about the Bucks win total over the last second half of the season here since the All-Star break.
I was leaning under that 48.5 mark.
And they've gotten hot, and I think you would have been in bad shape, and I was leaning that way, and I would have been in bad shape.
Well, it also goes ahead of their... And all this is great. They've been doing a lot of winning, which is, ultimately what I want to see. They also have yet to go out west, and that 5-game Western Conference road trip is looming. You've got some tough matchups on the horizon. So I still think the schedule, and if you looked at it going into our conversation last week, the toughest.
The Mavericks on the road, too, though.
The toughest.
The
out
Mavericks
of any team.
just lost Kyrie. Anthony Davis is out.
Well, they lost everything, right? This is a mess.
Gone.
Jason Kidd's going to put on a uniform and play tonight, for goodness sake, right? Throwback night here at Fiserv Forum. And somewhat surprisingly, the Bucks are fielding a pretty full squad on night 2 of a back-to-back. When I saw the plus 10.5 line, I thought, I know how beat up the Mavericks are, Joshy, but I don't know what the Bucks are going to do on the floor tonight. But it turns out, if you've got an opportunity to get down here and place a wager, Giannis is probable. Gary Trent is out. Pat Connaughton is out. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Dame's going to play. Like, the Bucks should have a representative squad here in night 2 of a back-to-back on the home floor.
I'm going to end up punting one of my options here for best bet, but I love the Bucks first half, the -6.5, which you can still get in there with enough time before the game starts. Dallas has failed to cover the first half spread in 5 consecutive games. I think the Bucks are hot, and the Dallas Mavericks are the exact opposite of that. They are proverbially reeling. They are probably desirably trying to lose as many games as possible from here on out just to try and improve their odds. Things are bad there. Things are bad in Dallas.
Not good.
And the fans are revolting. It seems like the team is either quiet quitting or just straight up quitting on them. So they've had some unfortunate things. Obviously, the trade was one of them, but then they've lost all their players. So I love the Bucks end of this. I love it both ways. I love full game and that first half number because I just think the Bucks kind of come out and lay it to them. I do think there's a little added aspect of Jason Kidd being on the other bench there that I think would motivate some of those players who played for him as well.
Does that happen? Do you think that happens?
Absolutely.
This many years.
You always remember, especially at that level, you always remember who wronged you.
Yes.
Or who you didn't like, or who wasn't this, who wasn't that.
Well, how many players in the Bucs roster were wronged by Jason Kidd?
I don't know if I'd say wronged. They might feel like the team was wronged. Like they weren't reaching their full potential because of Jason Kidd. If we remember, Giannis defended him pretty much instantaneously, and then I think once he had the chance to think about it and see life without Jason Kidd, he realized things are much, much better. I can't imagine, from all the stuff we heard about Jason Kidd and some of his behavior in the locker room and in practice, that he's thought of too fondly by the guys still sticking around.
Yeah, I mean, Jason Kidd didn't know anything about me in Buck Summer League. It's unbelievable, John.
Well, that was clearly it's a knock
Strike
on him,
one.
right?
Yeah,
Poor scout.
Strike 10. It's actually a funny story if you want to hear it. So my entire life, I was a 6'2" shooting guard. Never did I play point guard. But should I have played point guard looking back in my life? Probably. It might have been a wise decision for the long term. So they put me over at point guard, and Jason Kidd happens to be at the practice. He's not in, they give an assistant
Hall of Fame point guard.
A chance to really show what he's got. But Kidd was on the floor. And so I'm running a ball screen at the top as the start of a play. And he goes, hey, come here. He doesn't know my name. You've been a point guard your whole life. The way you got to set him up here, you got to take him in more, and then when you come off that, you got the roll, you got the pop on the left side, and I was like, all right, I'm done. I'm done.
You were a body.
I was a body. 2 minutes a game in 2 games out of 5 games.
One assist to Giannis.
In the Vegas Summer League, right?
One assist to Giannis that I have on video forever. But I will be telling my kids that I was the last cut of the 15-man roster.
That was tough. We were pulling for you
the
then.
internet now, though.
We were definitely pulling for you. Speaking of Giannis, I'm pretty sure this mark was plus 10,000 a week ago. Giannis to win MVP. I think a week ago it was plus 10,000.
It was, yes.
It is now plus 50,000.
Yeah.
In other words, Giannis ain't winning the MVP.
Nope.
I think in the threshold, I think is 68 games. Are we at that threshold to now, if even Shai Gilgeous-Alexander or Nikola Jokic get injured, they will have played enough games to qualify to win the award? That is the only logic I have in that number jumping the way it jumped.
I don't know, but I'm sure we could find it quick. It just feels like at this point, even if they were to miss the rest of the season, like SGA at minus 1,000, it kind of seems like he'd cruise. Unless Jokic has an incredible, even more incredible.
I was going to say, he's already incredible.
Right.
What more can the guy do?
Right. It would be hard with the way it is going and the season has gone, for those guys to really materially change position, even post-injury.
61 games Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has played, so he's got a little room to grow here.
Yeah. He plays all the time.
Yeah, I mean, the whole team runs through him.
Yes.
And that is another reason why he's the MVP.
Correct.
And I think the threshold is, 63 games, if I remember correctly. I
couldn't remember if it was 68 or 63.
Whatever it is, he's close enough that I ain't anywhere near touching Giannis or Jokic for anything as a potential, hey, if he gets hurt sort of thing. It's just not a smart investment to risk money on a potential injury.
50,000 to win MVP. That is crazy.
Go ahead.
I mean, if those are the odds on Giannis at the start of the year, you're putting $100 down.
I'm putting way more down.
Yeah.
I'm putting $1,000
right.
down.
Well, you're
just from
leaning
a
on that
value
one.
Standpoint.
Right. You're leaning on that one.
That's kid's college fund right there. It's
all paid for in one
everything.
fell swoop from the guy who closed out on you in Bucks practice, summer league practice.
Oh, and we had breakfast together.
Okay, that's good. I don't know what you ate. I don't know what he ate, but it clearly worked for him. And Ben,
he was asking me lots of questions like we were going to be best friends, and I just missed the inner circle.
Hey, that's okay.
Guy.
That's okay.
Turns out I'm just boys with Thanasis.
Fair enough. That's full circle enough for me. So the Bucks are plus 10.5 tonight against the Mavericks. Looks like a pretty representative squad that'll take the floor here tonight. If you've got a chance to pop in before you go to the game, make sure to grab one of the parking stalls here. Use the kiosks. Super easy. Get down to the game in time. 7 o'clock tip at Fiserv Forum. Coming up on the other side, some minor movement in the world of baseball regarding your Milwaukee Brewers.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Want to get to this after this on ESPN Milwaukee.
We're back talking bets after this on the Weekly Wager on 94.5 ESPN.
It's one call, that's all with Gruber Law Offices. If you or a loved one is ever injured in an accident, do not hesitate to make one call, that's all to Gruber Law Offices because they stand up for victims and they take the burden off your shoulders. They focus on the legal aspect while you can focus on healing. And not only do they do that, they also provide the best care and there is no fee until they win your case. Call them today at 414-276-6666 or visit them at gruber-law.com.
American Family Insurance is a lot like Captain America. He protects the world.
It's just doing my job.
And we help protect your dreams with amazing auto and home coverage. American Family Insurance. Get a quote and find an agent at amfam.com. And see Marvel Studios' Captain America Brave New World.
Suit up. We need to move.
In theaters February 14th. This film is not yet rated.
Products not available in every state. American Family Mutual Insurance Company, SI, and its operating company, 6000 American Parkway, Madison, Wisconsin.
Coors Light presents To Chill or Not to Chill. When your friend skips your favorite song on the playlist. End the friendship. Or choose chill because that song lives rent-free in your head anyway. And you planned ahead by bringing Coors Light to the party. And the sound of that ice-cold can cracking open was music to your ears already. Coors Light. Choose chill. Celebrate responsibly. 2024 Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado.
Home practice is about to begin. Your daughter's new tap shoes? Loud. Your son's new tuba? Louder. But you got this. Just like Associated Bank's got you with $50 overdraft grace zone. So if you lose track of expenses buying some noise-canceling and sanity-saving headphones, we've got your back. You got this with $50 overdraft grace zone from Associated Bank. See associatedbank.com/checking or ask a banker for details. Member FDIC.
Wisconsin is still cattle country, and that's why Bunzel's chose to stay close to home to hand select the finest beef. Quality goes into everything they do, from Bunzel's expansive array of meats, homemade specialty sausages, and their award-winning beef jerky. It just isn't a proper holiday meal without Bunzel's top quality cuts on the dinner table. Tasting is believing. Visit Bunzel's at 90th and Burleigh or bunzels.com.
For general contest rules, visit espnwisconsincontest.com.
Earth Justice is a national legal nonprofit fighting to save lives, protect our climate, and strengthen our economy through the shift to zero emissions. Visit us at earthjustice.org. Earth Justice, because the earth needs a good lawyer.
You're listening to the Weekly Wager live from Potawatomi Sportsbook on 94.5 ESPN and at ESPN Milwaukee on YouTube.
To say, put the past away. Wish you would step back from that ledge, my friend.
We got something fun going on here at Potawatomi Casino Hotel coming up for the Bucks Nuggets watch party on March 26th. I'm going to give you a way that you can enter. You can't do it yet, but I want to let you know how. You're going to follow Potawatomi Sportsbook and ESPN Milwaukee on Instagram. Then March 10th through the 20th, coming up next week. Tag a friend in the comments of our contest post, and you will be able to come up to our VIP skybox at Potawatomi Casino Hotel, where you can't just get there. I mean, we're only up here because we do the show, and then they make us leave. They don't even let us stay in the VIP area. You can be there with us and bring your friends and win rewards play. So make sure you're paying attention the 10th through the 20th of March, and we'll give you more details as it comes to hang out with us at Potawatomi Casino Hotel in the beautiful brand new sportsbook.
Where we are hanging out, it's the Weekly Wager here on 94.5 ESPN. We've got Marquette basketball coming up here at the top of the hour, and a nice spattering of games on ESPN Milwaukee for Brewers baseball during the course of the Cactus League. I don't know if you guys ever dive into placing wagers on spring training games.
No,
you can do it.
I refuse.
You can do it.
It's like if you ask me about it, I'm just going to say I have nothing to say.
Preseason football? Do you do it in preseason football?
Nope.
I can't do it. I can't.
Aside,
a Hall of Fame game?
Nope. There's one team you should always bet on, and that's Baltimore
Ravens.
Because John Harbaugh likes to win those games, and he likes to cover the spread in those.
Setting the culture, Joshy, is what it's all about here.
Yes.
Setting the culture. You can, if you choose, place wagers on spring training games, if you'd like. The ultimate crapshoot, best of luck to you.
Literally the best of luck.
Yes. I don't know how else to describe betting on spring training games other than the luck of the draw. Let's look at the numbers here for the Milwaukee Brewers as it pertains to the regular season. Numbers have not moved all that much, and really there's no reason, you would think, for numbers to move all that much. Nobody in the division has had a major signing. The Brewers did add a lefty veteran arm in Jose Quintana, which to me more or less means Quintana can't pitch against the Brewers, which he has done so many times over his career. But the Brewers' odds to win the World Series, to win the National League, are the exact same today as they were 2 weeks ago, to win the NL Central. I think a good value here at plus 375. But it's
that was 300, then 400, now back down to 375.
That's kind of moved a little bit.
Moving, but still value if you like it.
I think there's decent value there. The Cubs are minus 110. You got to put down some extra change if you want to go the Cubs route. Jackson Chourio still plus 3,500 to win NL MVP. The one number that has changed slightly here is the Brewers over/under win total. Now we got it, Ben, at what, a couple of weeks ago?
Yes, Greg, Josh, and many others are a part of the $875 total bet for the Milwaukee Brewers to win over 83.5 games. Now, we had to lay a little bit more juice than what there is at 84, but I'd rather have a lower number with more juice right now in the game.
84.5 right now at Potawatomi Sportsbook is minus 112. 84.5 at minus 112. So there's an extra win there.
It may
somewhere
not sound
along
like
the line.
A lot, but now that
it's a big deal.
Now that it's moved with like not a lot of like extracurriculars for the team outside of Jose Quintana, I don't think Jose Quintana is moving the Brewers' win total for the season.
No, I don't think so either.
No, but I think Ben Bruss putting $875 on it would influence that. And it makes sense.
No, I mean, they definitely take into account local money going towards local teams here at Potawatomi Casino.
As we know, they've talked to us before about how the local teams are the most heavily bet on. And history being what it is, what we spent multiple weeks talking about, the Brewers usually go over that number. So it is not only an advisable bet, despite that number rising so significantly from the previous years, but everybody believes, hey, we saw this team. This team ain't all that different. You're short Willy Adames, and you could make a case for a lesser form of the Brewers in 2025. But is it going to be that significantly less where you would feel comfortable betting against what we saw last year?
I think the biggest thing that excites me is the rule changes fit the way the Brewers are going to play baseball.
Yes.
The rule changes have incentivized with the amount of times you can throw to first base to be able to take advantage of the speed. Now, the Brewers didn't lead the league in steals. I think they were top 5. But I think they were the fastest team on the base pads. So to know that they're able to have speed, have opportunity, be flexible, pinch runners, like you can do that with a young team because you can cycle them out. They're going to be good utility defenders. They can play multiple positions late in games. Like just the flexibility that Pat Murphy has. If you believe in him as a manager, he has a lot of tools in the toolbox to be able to make this thing work. You can also look at the pitching staff. They're going to get a lot of guys back, likely, throughout the season that are arms that should help elevate this team. So if they can get off to a really good start, I think that'd be huge because I think they're going to get better as they keep adding a couple of guys to, like, hopefully a Brandon Woodruff. I always confuse Gasser and DL Hall. I think DL Hall is closer to coming back with the lat than Robert Gasser. Then it's Robert Gasser.
Well, Gasser's going to be out till August or September.
Yeah.
It's going to be a minute for him.
I believe Quintana replaced DL Hall.
I thought it was... Well, Ashby also just
maybe
got
it's
hurt.
Ashby.
Ashby's getting looked at. I mean,
it's getting a second opinion.
Again, a lot of moving pieces.
Yes.
But
Why you need depth.
Why you need depth and how you can trust the Brewers' pitching laboratory to continue to produce results. And I know that Devin Williams is gone, but we've been through this before. Is McGill going to be able to close it out in the 9th? Is Obner going to be the linchpin in the 8th? Like, they have things that they can do based off of history and based off being able to look at last year and see who's going to grow into these specific roles.
So removing the COVID-affected season in 2020, the Brewers haven't had a season under 86 wins since Craig Counsell's first season in 2016. We're going on nearly a decade of this, right? Where the Brewers have a projected over-under win total somewhere between 78 and 82, in this case 83.5, now 84.5, and they blow it out of the water. Now, the other nugget that is a little different here, A couple of weeks ago, the Brewers' odds of making the playoffs, if you had answered yes to that question, it was minus 113. No, minus 110. Today, yes is plus 105, and no is minus 130. I'm not sure what prompted the move there. That is a pretty, I don't want to say significant, but it's borderline significant. Now you're talking about, instead of putting some extra change down, now it's a little more, I don't know, palatable.
Yeah, I also was called out for saying Gosser. I apologize. That's one of my groomsmen and somebody who's been a best friend in my life who I played with, who's Josh Gosser. It's Robert Gasser, which is a much better baseball name.
Yes.
Indeed it is.
We let it slide.
Thanks, guys.
I do think it's sort of under-discussed how the Brewers, as a team in a small market, as we know well about, have found ways that front office and the scouting department to manipulate and find edges within the rules and the rule changes to make themselves better competitors. Like the fact that they went so young and so speedy wasn't just we have to do this, it was clearly by design. And I think the Brewers' ability to operate that way without really any of those base cloggers that we remember at first base as big issues, and improving in the margins, more contact, more balls in play, I think has led to them kind of finding another edge as the rules of baseball have changed to make them a team where you feel really comfortable with the way they're approaching things. You don't even have to include Pat Murphy, as good as we feel about him. Like, it's just from that scouting department, from Matt Arnold on down, there is institutional belief, I think, for every Brewers fan.
You didn't like Chris Carter hitting 40 bombs, hitting 206?
Not particularly.
No.
Not the most fun baseball to watch either. But that was, at that time, that was sort of the ball that had to be played.
I was just going to say, that is the way the game was played.
It made sense, but now last year was one of, aside from the first time the Brewers made the playoffs in however many years with CC Sabathia, that was the most fun I've had watching the team, which makes this, what we're doing here, talking about the Brewers and betting on the Brewers to hit that over, all that much more fun.
Because they have the potential to outdo the.
Yes.
And Josh, I know you had talked about this last time we were hitting on the futures on the season win totals. And yes, was there value probably more 3 years ago at that 78, 79 number that they were throwing out? Absolutely. But I think this number is showing respect to the way that the Brewers play baseball and why they will be successful in hitting this over is because of the rule changes and the way that they've built the team and the way that they can continuously have versatility in the way that they win games.
The numbers still suggest to me that Vegas and the people who are making wagers believe that the Cubs are probably more than what they really are. Mm-hmm. At some point, when does that sort of fade off?
Well, and I'm glad you brought that up. You got to remember as well, as much as we just talked about the local side of things here and taking into account like an 875 bet on the Brewers over, or a lot of other people other than me in the state of Wisconsin looking at the Brewers over, from a Vegas perspective, the Cubs are like a darling to their fans, as well as just like kind of like the nation. They have a lot of fans because people grew up watching the Cubs on WGN. So even if you're not in the state of Wisconsin, you're probably going to inflate their chances to win, because you're going to get people still laying minus 110 for them to win the division, when if it wasn't the Cubs and you insert another team with the same roster in the same situations, if you take away the logo, it might be plus 150, in comparison to where the Brewers are in the NL Central at plus 375. They might be closer at plus 300. Just because of the name itself and the moves that they made, I think they're inflating that number just a tad, because as you mentioned, until we see it with Craig Counsell at the Cubs, I'm going to be cautious with that team.
I do think there is some aspect here of, I don't know if the Cubs season is going to be quite as ugly as it was at times. It felt like they were lost and searching. Now, they ended 4 games above 500, but at times and throughout the season, it felt like they were just kind of wayward and lost and drifting.
It felt like it was a really hard way to get to those 84 wins.
Yes. It wasn't efficient. It didn't feel right, whereas the Brewers, bell to bell, felt like, this team's
it was a wire to
real.
wire. It was a horse race in which they started hot, and maybe they took a horse past them for a second, and then they horsed right back. I don't know. That's not the right word.
It's fine.
Horsed right past by.
Horsed them.
You're doing good. It's okay. No problem. No, it's good. It's good. I got you.
I know you got me. I just know it's not exactly the horse racing.
The cleanest.
Turn down the jets.
Point well taken, by the way, about how your fandom grows as a kid. So as a kid, and I'm older than you guys, growing up in the 80s, right, I would get home from school and the Cubs game was on, right? And this is before Fox Sports anything, FanDuel anything, Bally Sports,
Dude,
whatever.
For sure. I mean, the amount of things of Andrew Jones, Chipper Jones, Greg Maddox, Tom Glavine.
TBS, the Superstation.
Was the Braves.
And you could watch Braves games at night, and Cubs games were on after Saved by the Frickin' Bell, right? Yeah. I'd get home and watch Jody Davis and Ron Say, the Penguin, and Andre Dawson, right? I knew all of the Cubs. They were my National League team, and the Brewers were my American League team, because that's how it was set up when I was watching.
Happy birthday, by the way.
Appreciate that. And the Brewers, by the way, if you were going to watch them, they were on Channel 18. You know what came on after the Brewers game? Three's Company, right? I mean, it's just a crazy time to watch baseball. And aside of that, home games were not televised. Only the road games were televised. And those games were played at night. So you'd get Cubs afternoon games on WGN. I could watch a Braves game at night if the Brewers were at home. I didn't like the Braves as much. My dad was a Milwaukee Braves fan. Never really settled in with him that they moved to Atlanta. But okay, he holds a grudge. Oh, no, he held a grudge. A bit of a grudge holder there. That's okay. But nonetheless, that to your point, Ben, that's just me. One example of a kid living in Wisconsin who was a Brewers fan, right? Now multiply that by anybody who's in their mid-40s around the nation.
Correct.
Right? A large portion of the betting public.
Taught their kids to be Cubs fans because it's how they grew up watching the Cubs and then followed them once they, if they're in a different market, because it's what they could consume. Now you can consume anything at any point. Josh is my dark web guy. He can pull up a game in Japan and I could bet on basketball from it.
It's a fascinating world we live in, isn't it? Right? Brewers rain delay.
I'm not saying he does it.
No.
If I needed him to, I'm sure he could figure it out.
I've never gone Japanese stream. It's usually just the ones that are hard to find, like an SEC network. Who's paying for that in Wisconsin?
Yeah, right. Nobody's paying for Peacock. People only have the Peacock trial. Is kind of what it amounts to be. Yes, Brewers rain delay on Channel 18 and Channel 24.
Peacock for sure. Especially if we may hear before the best bets. Peacock, you're killing me here. And here's why. You got all these college basketball games that I want to watch. But here's the thing. Now with these small little remotes with these new TVs, there's no jump button. And so even when I'm on my YouTube TV, I got to exit out or go 4 box if I want to watch multiple games. You can't get out of Peacock. Or if you leave Peacock, I'm not coming back because it's like I got to exit an app. Get in there. It's stupid.
Can you do a remote on your phone?
Of course you can.
There you go.
But
try it that way.
Here's the one thing I do want to add to this before we go to break, Ben. I don't think people consume sports the way you do, so they're not super concerned about the guy going multi-app, multi-screen, because most people aren't
a game and watch it.
Yeah.
I'm a bopper. I'm a TV bopper.
You are a unique use case for them. I don't think you're...
I'm the target market in everything anyone does.
I will never forget Jim Paschke calling Brewers games on Channel 24, and as Tom Trebelhorn was talking to the plate umpire about what to do during the rain delay, he just said, "Cue the Ropers." That was the spinoff of Three's Company. My goodness, how long ago was that? We'll come back with our best bets on the other side. I'll explain to Ben what the Ropers are during the break. More after this on 94.5 ESPN.
More bets coming up. This is the Weekly Wager on 94.5 ESPN. It doesn't matter if it's your first betting slip ever or just the first one of the week. We've got your Potawatomi sportsbook picks covered. Tune in Wednesdays to the Weekly Wager with Greg Matzik, Ben Brust, and Jen Latta.
If someone gives you 10,000 to 1 on anything, you take it.
The Weekly Wager, Wednesday nights at 6, right here on 94.5 ESPN, the Wisconsin On Demand app, and ESPN Milwaukee's YouTube channel.
ESPN Radio Sports Beat with Freddie Coleman.
50,000 points. Let me say that out loud again. 50,000 points scored in the NBA. That is the hallowed ground where LeBron James is at, and who knows when and where is this going to end. I've said it before, and he keeps proving me more right, and more right. He is the greatest athlete that has ever played in the NBA. We may have to start having that conversation about the greatest athlete that played in any sport, still at that level when it comes to LeBron James, who is still a top 8, top 10 player at worst at his age, playing like that for the Los Angeles Lakers. And he has everybody believing moving with him and Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves and J.J. Redick doing a great job as a head coach, that maybe, just maybe, a fifth NBA championship could be there when many people thought that 4 was going to be the magic number involving LeBron James. There are a lot of magic numbers next to him, and he keeps piling on top of those numbers each and every second. In 60 seconds, good for the Chicago Bears.
ZipRecruiter is the place. ZipRecruiter is the place for talented teachers, savvy software developers, and master mixologists. ZipRecruiter is the place where you meet all these people and more. That's because ZipRecruiter is the place for job seekers who are looking for new opportunities. In fact, ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day, so you can find the right candidates right away. It's no wonder that ZipRecruiter is the place for skilled skydiving instructors, accomplished airbrush artists, and proficient pediatricians. But if you're not using ZipRecruiter to hire, you're missing out. ZipRecruiter is the place that's so confident it can make your hiring easier that it lets you try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. So if you want the right candidates for all your roles, ZipRecruiter is the place to go. Try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free. Never miss out on great candidates with ZipRecruiter.
Oh, Ben Johnson is not fooling around as the head coach of the Chicago Bears. Yet Ryan Poles, the general manager, is supposed to have helped, but we know that Kevin Warren, the president of that team, is pulling the strings and calling everything. What I mean is they're not treating this first year Ben Johnson being the head coach, former offense coordinator of the Detroit Lions, with that quarterback and Caleb Williams having that kind of talent and treating 2025 like it's a gap year. They went and got an offensive line for the Los Angeles Rams and Jonah Jackson. Then they traded for a 2-time All-Pro guard and Joe Thuney from the Kansas City Chiefs. Ben Johnson's like, look, I did not take this job to just wait. I'm not waiting. I believe what I am. I know what I'm going to be, and I know I can make that quarterback, but I can't make him if we don't have the right kind of guys in front of him. Good for the Chicago Bears. We have not seen anything like this in that organization in a long, long time. For the ESPN Radio Sports Beat, I'm Freddie Coleman of ESPN Radio's Freddie and Harry.
Hey, it's ESPN Milwaukee's Brad Norman here with some great news from my friends at Bank 5-9. For a limited time, you can earn as much as 4.8% on one of their CD specials. With 9, 17, and 25-month options, you're sure to find a CD that fits your needs while you earn a great return. It's simply another way Bank 5-9 is making lives better in our communities. Hurry! These high rates won't last long. Check out bank59.com/CD for more details. Member FDIC.
This is the Weekly Wager live from Potawatomi Sportsbook on 94.5 ESPN and at ESPN Milwaukee on YouTube.
Time for best bets here on Potawatomi Sportsbook's Weekly Wager. We need someone who's going to ride us or fade us. In fact, we need both here. So give us a call at 800-990-3776. It is the Carbless Talk and Text line. Less is more. 800-990-3776. We've got prizes for you. As long as you win, are you going to fade us or are you going to ride with us? Time for best bets on the Weekly Wager. Josh, I'm feeling generous. I've had back-to-back losses. I'm going to start with you.
All right, I've got a few here I'm going to preamble with before giving you my final best. These are all the things I looked at and I like. Spencer Dinwiddie, under 3.5 rebounds. He's failed to meet that in 6 straight games in the last 4 meetings with the Bucks. His under of 3.5 rebounds has hit 82% of the time this season.
Guy doesn't like to put his nose in there. It makes me mad.
Kings versus Nuggets, over 234. Obviously, that depends on the status of Nikola Jokic. As I mentioned earlier, the Bucks first half minus 6.5 is another one I am leaning towards. A little NHL talk.
Boy.
I like the Los Angeles Kings money line against the St. Louis Blues. They're 19-6 at home, one of the best in all of the NHL. But my best bet for tonight is going to be the under in Tennessee and Ole Miss. I think it is a letdown spot for Tennessee.
You stole mine.
Uh-oh.
That's a great number. Uh-oh. That's a great number and 2 defensive-minded coaches.
Yes.
Tennessee, number 1 in defensive efficiency, and Chris Beard from Texas Tech, a defensive team when they went to the Final Four, is the head coach of Ole Miss. 2 very, very tough programs.
Tennessee is also 345th in adjusted tempo.
Yep.
So Ole Miss is about average at that, so I do like the under of 139 in that game.
You mind going? Because I just got stolen.
sniped.
You got to go back to the drawing board here, Benny?
I mean, I had a couple in the hopper as well, but now I got to. Yeah, we could have. But you guys were telling me about what followed the Brewers back in the day.
Yeah, the Ropers. Yeah, it was a spin-off of Three's Company. It was great. Norman Fell started it. Yep, okay. As much as I'm intrigued by the Lemoyne Dolphins on the road at Central Connecticut State, also the Dolphins, I think, maybe.
Wow.
Well, they should be, if not. I'm going to lean away from college basketball. I've had a couple of bad weeks here in college basketball. I do like the immediate gratitude or disappointment of knowing the result of my best bet on the night we actually make the best bet. With that, I'm going to spin to the NBA. I have seen the starting lineup here for the Milwaukee Bucks. It is all systems go for the Milwaukee Bucks tonight against a Mavericks team that really doesn't have a point guard. They still have Klay Thompson. I guess that's fine, but this is a franchise that is an absolute mess right now. They're in shambles. I like the Bucks at minus 10.5. I think it's a double-digit win for the Bucks, even though it's night 2 of a back-to-back. There might be some minute monitoring. My only worry is that it goes bench-heavy in the back end, and that allows Dallas to sort of sneak back in and maybe turn that 14-point fourth-quarter deficit into a 9-point fourth-quarter deficit, albeit in a loss. But I'm going to ride the Bucks here at minus 10.5.
All right, I'm going to do it. I really like the way they've been playing, and they're at home against a very, very, very bad defensive team. Never a good statistic when you give up more points than you score on the course of the season. Louisville minus 14.5 has risen in the standings, and I don't think they're stopping anytime soon. Pat Kelsey, very, very good coach. Cal's lost 4 of their last 5 games, and a lot of these have been ugly. And when they played a real team like Duke, they lost by 25+. I think in the ACC, you have an opportunity at Louisville minus 14.5 for a 20+ point win at home as they try and continue to beat up teams and bolster their NCAA tournament resume. That is Louisville minus 14.5. You can catch that on the ACC network or wherever Josh is streaming the dark web.
Chucky Hepburn coming off a 37-point performance as well.
Yeah.
Pretty good stuff there.
I mean, I have no problems with Chucky. Good for him. Went and got his cash and is balling out, and the Badgers are also doing well.
Don't be surprised if Wisconsin ends up facing, on a path anyway, to face Louisville at some point in the tournament. Yep, yeah, the NCAA Tournament Committee knows what they're doing, and projections are understanding of what the Tournament Committee likes to do. Marquette against Buzz.
Little 3 seed, 7 seed there.
Might see a little bit of that action as well. All right, best bets. You've heard it. Are you going to ride us or are you going to fade us here? 800-990-3776. It's 800-990-3776. The Carbless talk and text line. I'm riding the Bucks at minus 10.5. Joshy stole Ben's initial bet, so we had to go to the drawing board. You did that rather quickly, too, Benham.
Like I said, I had other things I was looking at.
This is how he spends his days, his nights, his mornings.
Yeah, the first thing I do is when I wake up is I look for value because lines do change quickly, and I like to be part of the line changing in the right direction. But this is a spot where I'm still comfortable, but I love Joshy's. I'll just say it. I love Joshy's.
Okay. All right. Well,
and Joshy's got a pretty good track record here on the weekly wager.
I think I've only lost twice of my best.
Yeah, you're probably like 6-2, which is pretty good.
Yeah.
Better than me. I am on a losing streak. I'm trying to rebound tonight, and hopeful the Bucks can take me there.
Can I make a announcement? I've been fading Greg Matzik in college basketball, and it's been working.
Yeah.
I was kind of hoping you were going back to the well, Greg.
No, it's not been a great run here, right? It's just
Go
not.
Back to the well. I want to fade it.
I don't want to. I got the tournament is coming, and I'll likely lean heavily on the tournament in our best bet segments. I've got a lot of that to come, about a month's worth of those bets to make.
Board.
I'm going to stay simple here with what I know. And I know the Mavericks are reeling. I know the Bucks are riding hot right now. They don't want to be a number 5 seed, and they're putting everybody on the floor tonight. And I think that's largely the reason. If this game is in November, Giannis ain't playing, or Dame ain't playing. Brooke probably plays. He always plays. So I like the Bucks at minus 10.5. Out of time. Marquette basketball coming up next here on 94.5 ESPN. We will be back again next week. Thanks to Chris Larson for producing the program. For Josh DiMaggio, Ben Brust, and the fine folks here at Potawatomi Sportsbook, I'm Greg Matzik. Enjoy the rest of your night on 94.5 ESPN.
At Gruber Law Offices, we take great pride in helping those who have trusted us after a serious accident.